Hello, I'm Tim Farmer with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I have deer hunted as long as I can remember. More importantly, I have enjoyed venison. Now here lately I've been enjoying a lot more since I found out how to process it. That process begins in the field.
Now that you've got your deer down, the first thing you want to do is you want to start toward the tail of the deer, and you'll find the anus. And what you want to do is trim around that anus. Now you can do this after you have the deer open by splitting the pelvis, but the main thing is to not break the colon or the bladder. And if you do it this way, it'll be a little easier. Just go all the way around the outside of it. And then once you've got it freed up, trim around it about 1 inch to 2 inches inside. And then what you'll be able to do is once you have that deer opened up, this will all pull through the body. Be careful not to poke inward where the colon is or the bladder. And that's pretty much freed up. Okay. Now, Tim, if you give me a hand. Next step, just roll her on her back. Now, you can start from the base or the front. It really doesn't matter. If you're by yourself, you can actually sit on the chest. And I find it easier because you just run your fingers down until you find the bottom of the brisket. Pull up on the skin. Make a small incision. You want to be very careful not to go all the way through yet. Open it up a little, and then when you can see where the muscle wall is, that's when you want to make your incision. You want to make it very shallow with the blade pointing up so that you don't go all the way through. And as soon as it starts to open, pull up. Put a finger in, and this will keep you from poking the paunch or the stomach. Put your fingers through, and then what you want to do is very carefully put your knife pointing up and just slightly pull up. And then once you get it open a little bit, you can get your hand in there and then use your fingers to separate it, keeping the stomach and other material away. I'm pushing the stomach and the intestines down while I go backwards. Keep working your way down. Now you get to this area, just go straight on around to the anus. This one was a doe, so she has a milk sac. Just cut straight through. You can go around if it's a buck or whatever you'd like to do. It doesn't matter on this. Do not cut the meat yet. Just come right around to the anus. Now your intestines are starting to come out. Next step, to make it easier to open the deer up, you'll see the meat right here. Make a small incision, and what you want to do is just cut down so that it'll separate a little easier. And you'll see why here in a second. Try not to scar it up because you're going to save this meat in the kitchen. Now it'll open right up. There you go. Now, up in here, for all this to come out, you have the diaphragm that runs on both sides that separates all this from the lungs. This deer was shot through the lungs, so most of the blood is going to be up in the chest cavity. Now, if you want to, some people will separate the chest bone, the brisket, but you don't have to. Just open up a little bit, put your hand in, and right in here, pushing the intestines aside, inside here you can see what looks like a piece of meat. And what that is that's the diaphragm. And that is very thin. It's probably a 1/4 inch thick. And all you want to do is very carefully just trim that. Make one incision through it. and you'll see how it opened up. Now there's a hole, and then you need to do that all the way around the chest cavity. Be careful not to hit the stomach. You want to pull that open for me? Now you got to come around this side. Now you can wear gloves, which will make it a little cleaner for you if you want to. There's not a whole lot that can transfer to humans, but it is safe, and it sure makes cleanup a lot easier. Now that you got the diaphragm freed up, which we went all the way around, if you want to, you can open this brisket up all the way to the chest. It takes more time. It's a little more difficult. What I like to do, you have to take in consideration where you have shot the deer and what you've shot it with. If you shot it with an arrow and you have not found the arrowhead, you have to be extremely careful doing this. But this was a pass-through. So what we're going to do is right here is the heart. I've got my hand on the heart. It sits right here. What you want to do is grab a hold of the heart, and then in front of the heart is the esophagus. You want to cut that, and then what we're going to do is just pull everything out together. I got a hold of the heart. You might feel a couple of little pieces that are connected, and where I am is right about here in the chest. I'm grabbing a hold of the heart. I can feel the esophagus, just feels like a garden hose. Cutting through it very carefully. If you take note of how I'm holding my knife, this is why a big knife is not very desirable for doing this. You can hold it with your finger on the back of it, you know where it is. Giving it one good pull, everything will come right out toward you. Now about halfway through there, you will start to get hung up on bits and pieces, and you can pull and they usually come out, but I find it better just to trim a little. There we go. Now everything's coming out together. Nice and simple. Okay. Now, where we cut from the other side, we're going to free that up now. Usually, if you've trimmed well, it will come on out. But sometimes, you'll have little pieces of tissue holding on the side. And pull. That'd be my luck. A little bit of trimming here. You can see where it's pulling. Bring everything out together. Okay. Now that we've got her open, everything cleaned out, we need to drain the body cavity. All the blood's in the body cavity. So Tim, if you want to roll her over there, just flip her over, kind of put the head uphill, spread the legs, and all that blood will start to drain out.
Now your field work is done. You field dress the animal. Now I know a professional, the guy who's doing this work, who will take every cut of meat, he'll debone this animal, and you'll have nothing but prime cuts of meat, all the silver seam taken out, and you'll have zero waste. Take a look at this. There's no waste left with this animal. Now again, this is from the field to the freezer. Every step from skinning the deer to deboning the deer to putting it in quality cuts in your freezers. Now again, this video was shot and produced and endorsed by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's the most professional video I've ever seen, and I'm telling you what, I use this method myself. I think you're really going to like it. Now if you want this great DVD, go to kyafield.com and click on Purchase DVD, and guess what? For 13 bucks, you're going to be processing your own deer and loving it. Today, you can do everything yourself. Again, from the field to the freezer, take this animal, do every bit of the work yourself, skinning, deboning, and cutting up every portion of meat into fine table fare, and then this video is for you.